So it's the taxable value of the home plus. Still get a tax increase, thousands of dollars a year. Because everything over $1 million plus whatever the taxable value was is taxed and broken down, and then the tax is 1%. Even if it's To the children of not change to the tax. Six. So that's a problem. which would be the beginning of 2025. Their original assessment reinstated. So this was with the initiative and to get the petition. We need signatures the by 16. So download the petition. About tenants being evicted. And there's nothing Such a big tax on them. Or one of the counties that would accept the transfer. Used to be you could go once. Now. If people want that to do, that's right. We're not changing any of that. We're not changing any of it. We're not changing anything except the land fire. What are we changing? Well, part we didn't know was in it. But because the transfer parents to children is Yes, it's a non-code.
Said stuff like we got it. There was more water stars. Why haven't we built it? Just went a wind across the clouds. There's a little overlap there, isn't there? There is. Or if he runs for president, we're going to get a lot more of Joe Japanese impersonations by Hubble and Grateful. Armstrong and Dennis. Morning, 6 to 9. Radio and smart speaker at 560 KSFO. Bongino. It's $5 get accused of treason, being a racist, a Nazi, a fascist, killing people, and he still won't go away. Bongino. Afternoon on your radio and smart speaker at 560 KSFO.
Welcome back to Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party. My name is Susan Shelley. I'm the Vice President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Somebody's looking to increase taxes, we are on it, and we will email you, and you can call and let your representatives know what you think about that. And you can let them know what you think about this, the death tax. You can look them up at findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov, findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov. Give them a call and say, what's this about? And are you supporting this effort to repeal the death tax? Because they should be. We don't need them, but they should be supporting this, and they should know that you care about this, because they can do something too. They put this on the ballot in 1986 in the legislature. They could put it on the ballot again. We wouldn't have to work so hard, but we don't mind working so hard because it's really important. You can get the petition to repeal the death tax at repealthedeathtax.com. You download it, you print it, you fill it out, you mail it back to us. We need 1 million signatures of registered voters by the middle of January, by January 16th. So don't wait. Tell everyone you know, repealthedeathtax.com, and download the petition. There's room for 2 signatures on each petition, but you can print as many. You're the circulator. So you fill out the declaration of circulator at the bottom. It's very easy. Complete instructions are included, and you mail it back to us. And if we have 1 million people do that tonight, we will have this qualified for the ballot by Monday. So anything is possible here. We have made this very easy. We've taken away all the logistical headaches of commercial printing these large petitions and standing in front of supermarkets. This is us and you and your whole address book getting this done. This is the initiative process. And you can call us at 415-808-5600. Before we take another call, I just want to mention that The assessors have been generally very supportive of us. They've been very supportive of this effort. They do not like Prop 19. They're forced by law to implement it. It's not optional for them. So they're doing what they can. They are very far behind in most of the big counties because there's just a lot to do. It was never the case that they had to assess all these properties when they were transferred from parents to children. They didn't have to. They could work off the tax bills and they could say, okay, this is going from this person to this person. You fill out the form. There's no change to the tax bill. But now they need to know the value, because if it's more than $1 million plus the taxable value, even if the person moves into it and makes it their permanent primary residence, and they're not supposed to get a tax increase, if it's more than the allowable value, they're going to get a tax increase anyway. Repealthedeathtax.com. Get the petition. Tell all your friends. We can do this. We can do this. Proposition 13 was just like this. And all the petitions came in the last 2 weeks. So we're ready for it. We're going to be having trucks back up to the office, I think. Let's talk to Fran in the South Bay.
The word out on this very important subject. Guess what? The realtors of the state of California are very much in favor of Prop 19 because guess what? They're turning over real estate like you wouldn't believe at the expense of the long-term homeowners, which is very, very distressing. My question though for you is, I've been told that if you hold your property in an LLC, that your property is transparent. Could you please elaborate on that particular subject?
Yes. Well, an LLC is a limited liability corporation. Is that right, Scott? Is that what that stands for?
Yes.
Okay, it's a limited liability corporation. That is a different kind of ownership than having their own name. And the rules are very different. However, it's extremely complicated and rather expensive to set up an LLC and to transfer property. The law in California is based on change of ownership, the definition of change of ownership. So Proposition 13 said that property is reassessed to market value when there is a change of ownership, but the definition of change of ownership was left to the legislature. And what they said was, if property that's in an entity is transferred, as long as no one person or entity owns more than 50% of it, it's not a change of ownership. So you need you need at least 2 or 3, I think you need 3 if I do the math correctly, to make sure nobody winds up with 50% ownership, but this is very tricky. So please, if you're thinking of this, call an attorney, call an accountant, wear a helmet, wear a protective cup. Very tricky to work with an LLC. So it's not going to work for everybody. It's not as simple as just filling out a form and getting around it. But Fran, you're quite right. Many people who voted for this in the legislature said, oh, we don't care because, I heard this from someone who's an elected official, we don't care because businesses can get around it. Well, a lot of businesses can't get around it. A lot of businesses that are family owned, that are small businesses, they're not doing all this sophisticated stuff with multiple entities and lawyers and tax forms and corporations and all of this. They just own the business. They just own the property. This is especially true of immigrant families who come here and they're starting a business and it grows and they want to leave it to their kids. And it would be fine if they could leave it to their kids with $1 million exclusion of the taxable value, which is what it was for more than 30 years. It would be fine because it's a long-held family property and it's probably worth tons more now. All property in California is worth tons more now. No one can control that. And just because the property is worth a lot doesn't mean you're bringing in the revenue to pay those taxes. What if you're a restaurant, a small business, and your labor costs are higher and your food costs are higher and your electric bill is higher and your taxes are higher? And then this, now your property taxes are higher. How many businesses that barely were able to hang on during the pandemic will be completely toppled by a property tax increase that no one even knew was in there because everybody thought it was about wildfire victims? This is reprehensible, but it can be fixed. It can be fixed. Call us at 415-808-5600. We're taking your calls. We're taking your questions. We're the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We are here for you. And you can be a member of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. A lot of people don't know that. It's a member-supported organization, and it's only $15 a year. And for $15 a year, you get Taxing Times, which is our newspaper. It comes out 3 times a year. It's filled with really interesting information for taxpayers, not against taxpayers like other newspapers, for taxpayers. We're looking out for you. And we have information about all kinds of things that will affect your family, your finances, your future. So that's the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association since 1978. We're the people who brought you Proposition 13, holding your property taxes down while you own your property so you don't get taxed out of your house or business. Very important. It's very important. And when Proposition 13 was on the ballot, everybody who was anybody in California, the big businesses, the elected officials, the people who were trying to curry favor with the elected officials, everybody was against Prop 13. Scare tactics all day long. But it passed with a 2/3 vote, almost a 2/3 vote anyway. And the reason was people were getting taxed out of their homes. Because property was taxed before 1978 in California, property was taxed based on the market value of the property times the tax rate. And the tax rate was a statewide average 2.67%. Think about that for just a second, but not if you're driving. If you're driving, don't think about it. Imagine paying 2.6. Keeping it. How many people could even do that? Well, they couldn't do it in 1978 because inflation was pushing those prices up. And there were a couple of years when it was more than 20% a year in the 1970s. And people were getting these tax bills. Somebody would sell a property down the street and it would sell for a crazy amount. And everybody thought, oh, somebody got ripped off. No, it was inflation pushing it up. And then everybody got a new tax bill. And then they got a ballot. And on the ballot is Proposition 13. And Proposition 13 said the tax rate is cut to 1% and your assessed value cannot go up more than 2% a year. So if the market goes up 20%, your assessed value goes up 2%. And if the market goes up 10%, your assessed value goes up 2%. It's tied to the cost of the consumer price index. It's tied to the rate of inflation. And it's capped at 2% a year. So the longer you own your home, the more you benefit from Proposition 13. And we defend Proposition 13 against continuous attacks. Wouldn't you say, Scott?
Always, Susan. It's never ending. You know, the state legislature is going to keep us around for a long time, I think. 1978 to 2078 to 3078 will be here because they're not going to stop trying to find ways to raise your taxes. And I also wanted to add, you made everyone a promise, and you haven't kept it. Or the BOE.
Or the BOE. Okay, great.
Yes.
This is the Board of Equalization. This is the state agency that oversees property tax assessment. So this is where you want to go.
Tax Department. Yes.
Right. Okay. So what is the phone number for the
1-6-2-7-4-3-3-5-0.
Okay, one more time.
I'm just keeping you honest, Susan.
I appreciate
916-274-3350.
Okay, and I have the email address because I am ahead. I did have this written down. The email address, if you have questions about property taxes that you need a real answer on. Not that we're not giving you a real answer, but for your particular individual situation, PT as in property tax, web requests, PT web requests at boe.ca.gov. And you can also just go to the website, boe.ca.gov. You'll see right at the top, there's a link for Proposition 19 information, and they have a really excellent frequently asked questions file. So if you have questions that are very specific situations about ownership changes, they can help you with that. Take a look at that. And let me give out the property tax postponement information again from the state controller's office. If you're in a situation and you're in need of some kind of financial intervention on this, property tax postponement might be for you. So the filing period ends February 12th, 2024, and the phone number is 800-952-5661. That's the State Controller's Office, 800-952-5661. And if you're driving and you can't write it down, just Google or search engine property tax postponement in California. Let's take a call. Let's talk to Erin in the Bay Area. Hi, Erin.
Hi, I just wanted to call and I hope that it works out this time, and if not, we just keep doing it because Prop 13 took 5 attempts to get what we have now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It did take 5 tries. Howard Jarvis kept telling people what was going to happen with
Yeah,
property taxes, and they kept saying, "Oh no, it's not going to go up 20% a year. Come on," and then it did.
yeah,
It did.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm so glad that you have like the 1-page petition that people could print. And I heard someone saying that, you know, the realtors are not in favor of fixing it, but I do know a lot of realtors that are in favor of fixing it because there are a lot of long-term California residents and they know why this is so important. And so there's actually a lot of people that go to real estate offices and then just get signatures there because they know all about it and why it's important. So it's not all negative. There's lots of positive things going on.
Well, thank you, Erin. Thank you for the call. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. This was not something that came from realtors in general. This came from the Sacramento office. This was a deal in the legislature that they made. You know, originally, the California Association of Realtors just wanted that portability part where seniors could move to a new home anywhere in the state. That's what they wanted. But they were foiled in their plans to do that. And as a result, they made a deal with the legislature. What the legislature wanted was to raise your taxes. They wanted to get rid of the parent-child exclusion, but they didn't want their fingerprints on it. So they hid it in this measure in the fine print. And on the ballot, they called it changes to certain property transfers and families. Changes. It's not changes. It's a massive tax increase that can be tens of thousands of dollars a year. This is hitting regular people. This is not people who go out and buy a mansion and they can afford to keep it and they can afford the property tax. This is happening to people who are losing their parents and inheriting family property. And you talk about a raw deal for the next generation. You know, there are no good jobs in California. The businesses are leaving. People are leaving to get the jobs. It's rough for people. Paycheck to paycheck in California. The taxes are high, the income taxes are high, the sales tax is the highest in the country. The state sales tax in California, 7.25%. Everybody pays that. That's not based on ability to pay. Everybody pays the sales tax. And as you know, the local sales tax is much higher. But 7.25% state sales tax, highest in the country. Everybody's getting hurt by these high taxes in California. The gas taxes, not only are they high, but they're going up every July with inflation. And inflation is high. And the sales tax hits you when there's inflation because prices go up, the tax goes up. Well, they're happy as clams in Sacramento, raking in that money, just like they were in 1978. Raking in that money from inflation pushing up home prices and everybody having to come up with these huge checks to pay their property taxes. They didn't care. They had opportunity after opportunity to do something about it, and they didn't. And that's why we have the initiative process in California, because it was just like this in 1911. The government was not responsive to what people needed. And that's why we have the initiative. We have direct democracy powers in this state. We have the initiative, we have the referendum, and we have the recall. And the initiative is we write the law or we write the constitutional amendment and we collect signatures on a petition. And the petitions are very carefully regulated. You know, if you take a look at this, when you download it, you'll see that the font size is a certain way and the margin, the top margin has to be 1 inch. And then there's a column for official use only has to be 1 inch wide. We have figured all of this out for you. It's a little bit oversized. So if your printer does the fit to print and reduces it to 95% of the size, it will still be valid. It will still be legal. So if you see that there are 2 petitions on a desk and they have slightly different side margins, it's okay. It's fine. We covered it. But you have to print it. It has to be on paper. It has to be with ink. Has to be mailed to us. We have to put it, well, you could also drop it off. You could drop it off at our Sacramento office if you're in the Sacramento area, or at the LA office if you're in the LA area. Go to hjta.org and you can find all of our addresses. And you can call us, and you can come over and you can drop them off. And you can collect petitions from as many people as you want to. You can be the circulator on 24 petitions and get out there and collect signatures wherever you want to. From your friends, from your family, from your neighbors. Let people know about this. Let people know, because they don't know. We're running radio commercials. We're trying to tell everybody about it, but it's tough to reach the whole state of California. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of territory. We need your help. So call everybody. Tell them they can listen to this show every Friday night on KSFO.com, wherever they are in California, KSFO.com. And if you miss the show, you can see the video replay. We're doing video here. So you can go to repealthedeathtax.com and watch the video of this show after we're finished with it. And if somebody missed it and you want to say, you should go check that out, they can get it on the website. You can hear the radio commercials on the website. You can read a column that I wrote for the Orange County Register explaining this initiative and why it is so important. Repealthedeathtax.com is the website. Here's what we're doing. We are restoring the parent-child transfer exclusion from reassessment when property is transferred between the generations. We had it, we lost it, we want to put it back. So our initiative restores the parent-child transfer for a home of any value and up to $1 million of assessed value of other property. Does that for parents and children, does that for grandparents and grandchildren if the children's parents are deceased, and it's retroactive. So if you were burned by one of these parent-child transfer reassessments, you will be able to get your original assessed value reinstated so that going forward, you will have those lower taxes again. This is really important for people. We don't want people forced out of California by taxes. Middle-class people, regular people, people who have built a business, people who may be invested in a house that they want to rent out, or maybe you want to rent out your parents' house if you inherit it because you can't move back into it. Well, you should be able to keep it. It's your property. It's not right for the government to go snooping around every time somebody passes away and say, oh, well, there's something we could take. There's something they didn't have before, they'll never miss it. That's not right. People work hard. People work hard to own a house. 30 years of mortgage payments to pay that off. And maybe more if you refinance it. And maybe more again if there's a reverse mortgage on it. So many people are writing to us. People have reverse mortgages on a parent's house. And now they have to come up with the money to pay that if they want to keep it. And this death tax just makes it impossible. And they're losing everything. There goes the whole inheritance. So we can fix this at repealthedeathtax.com. You can call us. We're at 415-808-5600. We're answering your questions. We're taking your calls. And we have information for you. The property tax postponement program may be of help. If you can file for that. You can apply for it up to February 12th, 2024. It's in the state controller's office. Phone number is 800-952-5661. That's for the postponement program for property taxes. If you need the Board of Equalization for an appeal, you can also start your appeal with the county tax assessor in your own county. But if you want to go over their heads or you have a question, 916-274-3350 for the Board of Equalization. And you can call the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, but you might as well email us. We're at info@hjta.org. And you can email me directly. I'm Susan@hjta.org if you have a question. One of the things we should talk about is generational wealth. You know, there are a lot of communities where there has been historical disadvantage in property ownership. No names. A lot of communities did not have a good deal from the government through many decades. Well, right now, people are acquiring property. Maybe they're in the second generation of home ownership or the third generation of home ownership, and they have acquired property and they want to pass it to their children and they want to start to build generational wealth. Because real estate is one of the best ways to do that. Real estate holds its value, it appreciates, you can borrow against it. If you're in trouble, you have options, you're building equity, it's rising in value. Cash is losing value to inflation. Real estate is holding its value. You don't want a society of all renters. You want people to be invested in the community and rising financially with it. That's what you want. You don't want everyone to be paying rent all their life and dying with nothing. You want people to be able to build generational wealth from parent to child, from child to their child. It's very important. And this is taking it away. This death tax is taking that away, because how many people can pay 1% of the current market value of a house in California every year on top of all their other expenses? It's just about impossible. So neighborhoods are going to be gentrified or broken up, and small businesses that everybody loves are going to be gone. Everything's going to be corporate owned because of this tax law, which no one knew was in there in Prop 19. We can fix this. RepealTheDeathTax.com. RepealTheDeathTax.com. Scott, how easy is it to fill out that petition?
It's very easy. I had my parents do it while I was home for the holidays, and even they could do it. That
Well, it's very easy. You download the petition, you go to repealthedeathtax.com, you click the big link that says download the petition, you get a 5-page file, a PDF file. You only have to print the last page. The first page has a mailing label on it. You can print that too, if you want to clip that out and tape it to an envelope. And the last page is the petition, and the rest of it is information. Whole instructions, a flyer with useful links and QR codes. If you're going to go out and collect signatures, you people, they can use the QR code. They can just grab it on their phone. They can go to the Secretary of State's website and register to vote. That's all on there. Or check their own registration if they want to, which is helpful, because sometimes people say, well, I want to sign, but I don't remember if I used my middle initial. Well, you can look it up, and we have that right on the flyer. Sure, which says who's paying for this, and who's paying for it is RepealTheDeathTax.com, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. That's us. That's all of you who have made donations, and thank you so much for your support. We have been able to start statewide radio ads. You're probably hearing them on a station near you, on this station, on KABC in Los Angeles, on stations throughout the state of California, because your support has made this happen. This is a grassroots effort. And mostly what we need now is send back those petitions. If you have a stack of them on your table, they're not doing us any good on your table. That's a quote from Howard Jarvis from 1978. He did radio commercials telling everyone, we need them back. If you don't send them back, we're going to lose. So send them back. If you have a stack of petitions and you've been collecting them, send them back. You need 1 million signatures by January 16th. Write it down. Tell everybody. RepealTheDeathTax.com. You can help. You can let all your friends know. And join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We're at HJTA.org. Right, Scott?
That's it, Susan.
That's where we are. HJTA.org. Join us. Get our legislative report card that Scott puts together. Tells you what you need to know about the people who represent you. For Scott Kaufman, Legislative Director, I'm Susan Shelley. We'll see you next Friday at 6 p.m. Talk to you then.
The preceding ad was paid by Repeal the Death Tax, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. The views, opinions, and beliefs expressed are those of Repeal the Death Tax, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and don't necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Cumulus Media or other partners. Talk radio.